Let's start with where we are. Smoking kills 8 million people a year, and in response, in most countries around the world, it's illegal to smoke until you're 18 or 21. We cover cigarette packs with graphic images of the side effects that can occur from smoking, and we rightfully inundate children with information about the harms of smoking. Meanwhile, ultra-processed foods kill 11 million people per year. And what are we doing about that? A moral panic has erupted around flavored vapes being marketed to kids. Meanwhile, sugared cereal and kid-centric candy surround us. 60% of Americans' calories are coming from ultra-processed foods, and we're seeing the effects. 6 out of 10 Americans have a chronic disease, and 1 in 2 Americans is either diabetic or pre-diabetic. We all know that we shouldn't be eating these foods, but we're like smokers who just can't quit. According to The Lancet, a vicious cycle is created in which the preferences and demand for unhealthy products are not only shaped by the environment, but lead to environmental changes that further encourage consumption of unhealthy foods. In other words, we're in a death spiral of garbage food. And as we fall deeper down the death spiral, things get worse and worse. According to Dr. Mark Hyman, a 10% increase in calories from ultra-processed foods increases your risk of death by 14%. And we haven't just gotten more genetically predisposed towards laziness and obesity in the past 50 years, but nonetheless, obesity levels have tripled over that time period. So then, how the hell did this happen? And what can we do to stop it? How many ads for fruits and vegetables have you seen in the past month? In the past year? Now, how many ads for highly processed foods have you seen in the past month? In the past day? We're barraged by marketing for foods that are killing us every single day. And it starts when we're really young and too naive to know any better. In the UK, 140 million pounds are spent every year marketing ultra-processed foods to kids. Meanwhile, only 1/30th of that was spent on anti-obesity marketing toward children. I took a picture of all the ads for food I encountered while heading into the city one day, and this is what I saw. Out of the 11 ads for food, 9 were for junk food and 8 were for ultra-processed foods. It goes beyond pictures too. For example, Cinnabon places their ovens at the front of the store to blast the surrounding area with the scent of their cinnamon buns. Some cinemas waft the scent of popcorn through the building to increase snack sales. Fast food chains are increasingly exploring marketing through the quote, smellscape to drive junk food sales. Even grocery stores are set up in a way that sabotages your health. Every one of these grocery stores is laid out similarly, and it's probably a familiar layout to you. When you first enter, you're surrounded by fruits and vegetables. This creates an association between the grocery store and healthy eating. But at the same time, grocery stores know that one of the most common products that people go to the grocery store to purchase is milk and eggs. That's why they put these at the very back, so you have to pass all the other food before you can get to that. And then comes the kill shot. Decision scientists know that towards the end of your grocery store trip, you have what's called decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is a form of mental exhaustion that occurs after people make a lot of choices. When people are experiencing decision fatigue, they're more prone toward unhealthy or irresponsible decisions. And every grocery store takes advantage of this by loading up the cash register with candy and ultra-processed foods. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is literally the top example on the Wikipedia page for decision fatigue. Myth 1 is that all calories are created equal. The overwhelming majority of research shows that not all calories are created equal when interacting with the human body. But junk food companies are still cash rolling research that's trying to prove that the only thing that matters for weight loss and health is daily caloric consumption. So to test this theory, I spent one day eating highly nutritious unprocessed foods and one day only eating ultra-processed foods. Here's what happened. I tried to be in a 500 calorie deficit on both days. On day 1, this was very easy. My hunger levels were minimal. On day 2, though, I had crazy cravings towards the evening, and I ended up going 500 calories over what I was shooting to eat in the day. I think what I was experiencing is what we see so much of in the literature, which is that when people eat more highly processed foods, they struggle more to be in as big of a caloric deficit. The other drastic difference between the days was my energy levels. On the day eating unprocessed foods, my energy levels were consistent and I felt good throughout the day. On the day eating highly processed foods though, I would get these massive dopamine rushes as I ate, and about an hour later I would have a huge energy crash and feel really hungry again. Myth number 2. We just need to exercise more to lose weight. Coca-Cola conveniently found that there's no correlation between sugar consumption and diabetes or obesity. Instead, they claimed that the culprit was a lack of exercise. So let's test this theory. If I take all of the add-ons that are recommended to me with a meal while eating at a fast food restaurant, how easy is it to burn off those calories through exercise? This ends up being 410 calories, which is equivalent to working out hard in the gym for about an hour or going for a 7-kilometer run. That's probably not a reasonable expectation for people to just exercise off if you're going to offer this with every single meal when people go out. According to Fortune magazine, the healthiest city in America is San Francisco, which also happens to have the second highest per person income of any city in America. The least healthy city in the US is Brownsville, Texas, which has a per capita personal income 1/5 of San Francisco's, making it one of the poorest cities in the US. The US government spends a ton of money to subsidize farming, but the lion's share of this money goes to just 7 foods: corn, soybean, wheat, rice, sorghum, milk, and meats. This affects what's affordable to households, which in turn determines what we eat. And how do we eat? Well, here are the top 10 sources of calories for American households. Fruits and vegetables are nowhere to be seen on the list. And if you're being economical, this makes sense. If you bought a dozen donuts from Krispy Kreme, it would cost you $8 and provide 2,300 calories. To get that same amount of calories from, say, peaches would cost you 3 times that much. A research paper from JAMA Internal Medicine found that people who had the highest consumption of federally subsidized foods had a 37% greater risk of being obese. For many people eating on a budget, the only foods that are available within their price range are foods that are going to make them obese and diabetic. This is absolutely insane, and there are some changes being made here. For example, as of 2023, Marco Rubio is pushing for a bill that wouldn't allow federally funded food stamps to cover candy and soda. But this is just a drop in the bucket, or rather the barrel of corn syrup. There are 2 competing camps on how to solve obesity. Camp 1 says that individuals need to take more responsibility, stop being lazy slobs, and just eat healthier. The other camp says that individuals bear no responsibility for their obesity. We're all simply victims of a mass hypnosis from conniving, maleficent food lobbyists. Poor people wouldn't have higher rates of obesity if it weren't for food deserts and Coca-Cola marketing. Both of these perspectives are correct up to a certain point, and completely wrong when viewed as an end-all be-all. Let's walk through a counterexample for each. So for example, I live in Sweden, where the food environment is a lot healthier than the US, and I've been able to lose a lot of weight. When I went back to the US, I was still trying to eat healthy, and nonetheless, I ended up gaining 5 pounds over a month. So yeah, the food environment does affect your weight, and we can't spend all of our mental energy trying to fight the food environment that's working really, really hard to make us obese. Okay, but now let's debunk the other end of the spectrum as well. Multiple studies have shown that introducing affordable, nutritious food to food deserts has no impact on what people eat. No doubt, access to healthy food is a requirement for a healthy population, but it's not enough to ensure a healthy population. One confounding variable for all of these correlations is poverty. Poorer neighborhoods are less likely to have supermarket access. But researchers have seen that poorer people tend to eat less nutritious food even when they move to neighborhoods with high access to healthy foods. So at minimum, we can say that there's a clear correlation between income and obesity levels. But no one's been able to figure out clear causality here, and the whole picture is just very muddled. So what do we know? Looking at the Lancet series on obesity, we know that change needs to occur from one of 3 places. 1, the food environment. What food is available to you? What food is marketed to you? Number 2, the food system. What foods are subsidized? What food is actually made? And number 3, individual behavior. How can we drive the population to make healthier decisions given that healthy options are available. To drive behavior change, children need clear education around healthy eating. But this also needs to be reflected around the foods that are made available to them. Harvard University School of Public Health developed the Kids' Healthy Eating Plate. In some of the better classrooms today, kids are told that this is how they should be eating. But then they finish that lesson, go to the school cafeteria, and are served something that looks like this. The reality of their food environment contradicts anything that they learn in the classroom. And it's contradicted day after day. At minimum here, we can say that knowing how to eat healthy isn't sufficient when the pervasive food environment directly contradicts our knowledge. So can changes to the food environment actually work? Yes. One example of this is Mexico, which introduced a 1 peso tax to sugary beverages in 2014. As a result of just the 1 peso tax, they saw a statistically significant decrease in soda consumption. But the best example is Chile. Chile banned children's junk foods from using mascots like Tony the Tiger. They also prohibited junk food ads from playing between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. so that kids wouldn't be inundated with them. But their coup de grace was adding 4 black stop signs to products with a high density of sugar, fat, salt, or calories. It's too early right now to see how this will affect population-level obesity rates, but the initial results are incredibly promising. A full 20% of all food products in Chile have been reformulated in response to the law. Nestle reduced the sugar in its chocolate powder drink. McDonald's offers fruit puree, cherry tomatoes, and yogurt in its Happy Meals. And local companies have been developing products like fruits, rice cakes, and nuts to sell at local schools. Soda distributors like Pepsi have even decreased the amount of sugar in their beverages to avoid the dreaded black logo of high sugar. So changes are possible, but they're inevitably going to be incremental. And we're in a really bad place right now. So a lot of change needs to occur to get from where we are to where we need to be a healthy, happier population. Anyways, I hope you liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more stuff like this, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I've got all kinds of other videos, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.